second here. Yeah, my name's Michael Manzano with Career Connection at Bow Valley College. And like I said, it's great that all of you can join with us today on what is looking to be like a decent day on my side of the city, at least. And seriously, we're truly glad that you can all be here because you know what? It's a different world out there these days. And you know what? This series is meant to let you know that even though your job search doesn't stop, then our services at Career Connection doesn't stop either. That means that we still have amazing career coaching, but instead of seeing our coaches face-to-face, then you'll probably be talking with them on the phone or even online. So just quickly with this webinar, we have a couple of ground rules. We just want to make sure that everyone respects each other. I'm going to turn everyone's microphone off during the presentation. And you know what? Join in. Let's have some fun. I don't know what it's like at your place, if there's anybody else at your house with you or your place, or maybe you're the only one. So you know what? If we're the only people that you've talked with over the past couple days, then let's talk. Let's have some fun. All right. But for me, myself, I've finished a couple of these webinars already using Zoom over the past few days. And it has been a very interesting learning curve. You know, we've had to find ways to adapt, especially doing all these things online these days. So asking questions like, you know, should I dress up and do my hair? Should I only look nice from the top here where people can see me? Or can I wear shorts because people probably won't be seeing me at the bottom there? And then do I need to even iron my pants if I wear pants? Well, yeah, I'm wearing pants just by the way. And then also, I mean, look at the background. Do I need to clean the things around me, right? So with all these questions and people working from home and things going online, especially interviews these days, then the question comes up, then what are the acceptable things to do on these video calls and what's not acceptable? So today we're joined by one of my friends, Karen Stiles. She's an amazing career coach. She's an instructor and a former recruiter. And she helps people stop stumbling over their words and speak with confidence so they can do the work that they dream of. So Karen, hey, thank you so much for joining us today. You've been doing lots of these online meetings.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you've been doing quite a few of these lately, haven't you? So you are the perfect person.
I have.
You're the person to be asking about all this stuff, all right? So I'll tell you what, I'm going to hand it over to you. And you school us on this stuff.
Thanks. Well, thanks for inviting me here, Michael. It's really fun to be here. And as you said, yeah, I've been using Zoom for a few years actually. And I know for a lot of people, Zoom is brand new. And so it's kind of been fun for me to, I've been instructing lessons and I've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings and teaching my colleagues about it. And I realized that there were some things that maybe people didn't know about how to get ready for a virtual meeting. And oh, looks like Michael froze. I don't know. Hopefully his internet's okay, but I'm just gonna keep going. So I'm gonna share my screen and then I'm gonna show you guys. We'll go through how to get ready for virtual conversations. So hopefully you guys can see this. Can everyone see the, okay, I got a nod from Drake. Thank you, that's great. So basically, we're going to talk today about getting ready for virtual conversations and particularly getting ready for virtual conversations in a professional sense. Probably for the most part, when you're having a virtual conversation with like friends or family or kind of just more social situations, you're okay to make up those rules on your own. But I wanted to give you a few tips today to show you how to show up as a professional in a virtual conversation. So let's jump in, make sure I can get to my, so this is the overview. The highlights, we're going to talk about why the time is now. Why are we talking about this topic right now? Then we'll look up 6 areas that we can prepare for virtual conversations. And then at the end, we will do a Q&A. So as you're listening, if you have questions, you can totally be ready to ask those. And I'll be answering as many as I can at the end. So The time is now, obviously, the time is now to really work on and improve our ability to use virtual conversation. In the time we find ourselves in April 2020, when we're in a time of isolation, there's really never been a better time to improve our virtual communication skills, because we can't talk face to face. But even before this pandemic broke out, virtual communication and remote work is really becoming more and more common, and is especially used for first round interviews. So my hope today is that from what you learn here, you'll be able to use it right away, whether that means you're having a professional conversation or an online interview. You can use the information you use this week if you happen to have an online interview. And in the future, as we get more and more connected and use video conferencing for work, I think this information is going to help you in the future as well. So let's talk about the 6 areas to prepare. So this is the outline, and I will go through all of these in more detail. So the 6 areas that you will need to prepare are your physical space, the lighting, your clothing and grooming, your nonverbal communication, device and accessories, and your documents. So we'll go through each one of those in detail. So the first thing you need to prepare is your space, because when that meeting opens, whether you're in a virtual networking meeting or an interview, what they see when you come up on the screen is going to be the first impression, right? So it's really important that your space is that is tidy, and that ultimately it's not distracting from you. We want to focus on you in the conversation, not whatever else is going on around you. If you either be in a tidy space, or you can turn your computer towards a blank wall, maybe towards closet doors that you can close if possible. You'll notice that for me, I've got a screen here. Now, I didn't go out and buy this. This is just one of those folding screens. You'll see my closet right there. Maybe I'll try to cover that up. I didn't go out and buy this. I happened to have it in my garage. I think I got it from my mom a few years ago. I just want to say, it doesn't have to be perfect, but maybe just think about what is the impression that you're giving. Now, this room that I'm in right now, I didn't have a home office before 3 weeks ago, right? Before we all started working from home all the time. And so it doesn't have to be perfect, but just make sure you turn it in a different direction. My room is, this is a guest room. Sometimes we also hang our laundry to dry here. But if you opened up and if you could see a bunch of my hanging laundry behind me, like you might question my professionalism a bit, and you might be distracted actually from what I'm saying. You might be focusing on like, oh, that's just some weird clothes or whatever. So the point is, we want whoever's on the other side of that screen to really be able to listen to you and pay attention to what you're saying. And we don't want anything behind you to distract from that. Make sense? Okay. Let's go on to the next one. Let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to say about that. Oh, make sure you're in a room that you can close the door if possible. You don't want, someone coming in and talking or asking you a question or, those kinds of things. I have cats. My door is closed. I've been in Zoom meetings where I've had a cat jump up on my desk and walk across in front of me. And if it's a social conversation, maybe that would be funny and that would be okay. But for today, I made sure my door was closed because I didn't want to be interrupted. Yeah, close the door, and then just be aware of anything else that might distract. So if you've got a wall with a couple of pictures, that's probably fine, but just take a second to look at it and make sure nothing is distracting from you. So let's go to the next part here. Good lighting. Good lighting is also really important. You want to make sure, again, that you are able to be seen. And what some people do is they make the mistake of having a window behind them. And I'll just, I don't know if I can show it. I'm going to pick up my computer and show you the difference. So I'm in front of a window actually. So that gives me pretty good light. If it was a very bright day out, I might want to use light in the room rather than the window, because sometimes it could wash you out completely and you wouldn't even be able to see. But if I turn this around, hopefully this doesn't cause too much trouble. If I turn it around, and if I put that behind, it's actually not too bad, but if it's really bright, can you see how you can't really see me, okay? So if I was sitting like this, you wouldn't really see me. You might be really distracted by what's behind me. It might be harder to pay attention. So that's why I've got my window in front of me. I'm gonna plug my computer back in here, sorry guys. So just make sure you've got lighting that works for you. If you're having a very early morning meeting, or maybe you could even be, I suppose you could be interviewing in a different time zone. Just make sure you kind of have a constant source of light that makes sure that you can be seen. One other thing, I should have mentioned before, is you want to make sure also that you're kind of in the middle of the frame. Okay, so I've positioned myself so I'm pretty much in the center of the frame. Sometimes people, especially if they're using a phone or something, they might lean it. So if you're like, if you're like this, if this was like this and you could only see the top of my head, that might be distracting. Or if I was like this, now I showed you my Post-it notes on my wall. Again, that might be distracting and you might not get the best impression of me possible. So just things to think about. Make sure you're in the center of the frame. Make sure you have good lighting. There are lights you can get. I don't know if you guys have seen those circle lights. I think a lot of influencers use them. And there are some that are pretty inexpensive if you want to go that route, but you probably have lamps in your home that will work, that can just make sure that you're lit from the front so that you'll be able to be seen by the other person. Okay. Prepare your grooming and clothing. This is the next one. Maybe this is obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway, guys. Particularly for professional virtual conversations and especially interviews, you want to make sure that you would dress the same as you would for an in-person meeting. So if you're having an interview and that interview happens to be for a professional position in an office, you may want to wear a suit, okay? If it's a more casual position, you don't need a suit, right? Again, any kind of interview, what we want to do is dress appropriately for that type of position so that we kind of look like we already work there. And yeah, Michael said he was wearing pants. I do suggest wearing pants. That'll be up to you. I don't know. You might, you might feel like you're having fun or you're more positive if you're wearing pajama pants. I don't know. That will be up to you. I think there is something about putting on professional clothing that makes you feel a certain way and it makes you show up as a professional to that conversation. And I think that can come through in the energy that you give off. And then your hair and your face, again, if you were going to an office, if you're going to work, I know a lot of us, myself included, we've kind of relaxed our standards of how often we shower and do makeup and things like that with being home, and that's totally okay. But if you're having a professional conversation where someone's going to be maybe considering you for a job or for their network, I would say don't skip the shower just because you're at home. And if you usually wear makeup to the office, then put on makeup. If you usually shave, yeah. If you're not someone who wears makeup, that's okay. You don't have to start wearing makeup just for virtual conversations. I'm just saying be consistent with how you would show up in that potential workplace. Okay. Anyone have any questions so far? Is our chat open? No. I can't see if
Karen, is there a way on Zoom that you can use an artificial background or a way that you can block out the background?
There is a setting, and I don't, okay, Michael's the host, so he has access. Maybe we can look at that at the end. That's a great question, Ed. There is an artificial background. I think it suggests that you have a green screen. I did try it with this background and kind of strange things happened. It washed out my eyes. Like, I think it was a green grass background, and then my eyes also turned green. It was a little bit creepy. So sometimes they suggest you have a green screen. I suspect that Zoom is going to be getting, like, oh, look at that. Can everybody look at Drake? Drake just added a background, and that totally worked. So there looks like that's a virtual background that you can use. The other thing is, I would just be careful, because we still want that background to, again, look professional, right? I went and I think I Googled something and I found something that looked like a nice, I don't know, minimalist open space office, but it didn't totally work. So yeah, you can experiment with that. And do what's best for you. It also might depend on your computer. I think, because my computer's a few years old, or maybe I needed an update or something. There was a thing it wasn't going to let me do. So you can do what you want with that. You might just have to play around. Definitely take some time in advance of your virtual conversation to try that out, because you could be really distracted if you're fiddling around with something during a professional meeting. I saw something come through the chat. I don't know where it is though. Michael, if you want to send it to me, you can. Otherwise, we'll move on, but we can take other questions at the end. Okay. So another thing to make sure you're ready for is prepare your nonverbal communication. So that means your posture. It could be really easy to, again, sit on the couch or slouch or whatever you're going to do. I heard a story recently of a recruiter who did a video interview, and the person was like in their bed lounging. And so, they didn't really realize the professional image maybe the unprofessional image that they were giving off at that point. So think about, how are you going to sit? I'm in a chair with a straight back, and I'm sitting up straight, and that helps me kind of focus and show up as energetic and interested in this conversation. And I would do the same if it was in an interview or a professional networking situation. The other thing is eye contact. So we don't have real eye contact. And so you may need to practice actually looking into the camera, which is what I'm doing now, if you're looking at it. So if I'm talking to the camera, it feels like I'm talking directly to you, and we can kind of make more of a connection than if I were looking off to the side, or if I happen to be looking at the screen, maybe looking at myself in the screen, right? Which is what is really easy to do. Sometimes, here's a trick too, sometimes I move the video can you guys see this as I move the video around? Can you see what I'm doing? Like, can you just see the slide, or do you see me moving the video? No? I don't think you can see it. Okay, perfect. Well, so I can move like the row of videos directly right under where my camera is. And so that means it can look like I'm looking at the camera when I'm just looking right below it. So that's a trick you can use also. But just keep that in mind, that you might want to practice at least saying a couple words right into the camera. That's a way that you can really build trust with the person on the other side of the screen. The other thing is facial expressions. Again, because we feel like we're not physically with someone, we could tend to have more of a deadpan face with no expression. So you might want to practice, or just be aware of how you're speaking. Do you want to smile a little bit more if you're talking about something positive? Just so that you can, again, give more of that human feel, that connection with the person on the other side of the screen. Okay. So we also want to prepare our technology. Make sure that you have plugged in your devices. So plug in your laptop, plug in your phone, so that you know that something's not going to die in the middle of your conversation. Have it plugged in during the call if possible, then you know that you don't have to worry about it. You don't want to be disconnected. And if possible, use headphones just to reduce echoing. Sometimes when we're speaking out loud, it can pick up like my voice could be picked up from your microphone and brought back through my speakers and create this loop of really annoying sounds to deal with. So really make sure, if possible, that you can use headphones. I'm using, like, honestly, I don't have a fancy pair here. These are, I think I got these at the airport one time, and these are not fancy at all. You don't need anything fancy, probably just whatever came with your smartphone when you bought it. But if possible, it is great to be able to use that. You will want to be hands-free if possible. And I say this in particular for those people who may not have a laptop. Not all of us have laptops at home, and a lot of us didn't need a laptop at home until a few weeks ago. So if you're using a phone or a tablet for a virtual conversation, make sure that you can prop that up or hold it somewhere where you don't have to hold on to it. First of all, you may want your hands free so that you can take notes in the conversation. And also, it can just keep it steady. Whereas if you're walking around with your phone and seeing different things, that could be distracting for the conversation. Your arm might also get tired. You'll probably just be more relaxed if you have a way that you can just set up your phone and prop it against something. And test your technology. So that you can actually practice all of these things. If you have the chance, if you know what type of technology you're using, if you're using Zoom or Skype or whatever, can you do a test call with a friend, right? And make sure that you can hear each other. Make sure your audio works, make sure your headphones work, make sure that your lighting is good, make sure your background is good. All of that stuff, you can test it and make sure. You can ask them about your outfit. Do I look professional? Should I change my shirt? Like, there are all these things where you can practice using this technology with a friend, and also it'll help you just get more comfortable with it, so that doesn't make you nervous, that you can focus on the conversation and not the technology. Let's see here. Number 6. The other thing you will want to prepare is your documents. And this is specifically if you are in an interview, of course. If you have a printer at home and you can print things out, print out your resume, print out the job description for the job that you have applied for, so you can have that ready in front of you and you can refer to it. It's normal to get nervous in interviews, and sometimes simple details can just fly out of your mind, and you could, like, maybe you forget the year that you worked somewhere, but if you have it on your resume in front of you, you can just quickly glance at that, and that will really help you. Also have a pen and paper ready. If you may want to make notes on what the person is saying. If it's a job interview, if it's a networking meeting, you may want to write some things down. Maybe they're going to give you other referrals, other people that you should be speaking to. So you might want to write down some details. You might get some great information out of that meeting. So make sure you have all of those things. There was another thing that popped into my mind and I can't remember what it was. Had to do with the pen and paper. Oh, if you don't have a printer at home, and a lot of us don't, because again, we didn't all need printers at home. So if you can't do that, you happen to have more than one device, you might be able to have some of your documents maybe on a phone if you're on a laptop doing the call. And if not, that's okay. I want you to know, not everything has to be perfect. All of this information is to help you, not to intimidate you. So it would be totally okay if you're on a call and someone asks you a question, it would be okay to say, you know what, I don't have a printer at home. I just have to look at this in my phone. Give me 1 second, and just communicate with them if you need to do that. And those are the 6 main things. So that's what that kind of comes to the end of the tips that I've got for you. I am curious, what are your questions? What are the questions that you guys have about virtual meetings, whether about technology or how you should prepare? I'm happy to answer those. And hopefully, is Michael coming back?
Yeah, I'm here.
You're here. Perfect.
That's awesome, Karen. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If anybody does have any questions, then definitely you could put it into the chat there in the box, or, you know, even unmute yourself quickly and say hi. If you have any questions, it'd be great. But throw them out there. But for myself, I mean, I really enjoyed that. I really think that the space thing that you brought up, Karen, that's really important.
Yeah.
For myself, I've got a laptop and I've got a desk in another room.
Okay.
That place is really where I do most of my work, but that's not an ideal space for doing a webinar or doing these video things. I don't know.
Oh, so you're not in your office right now?
I'm not in my office. So remember the first time we talked over video chat?
Yeah.
It was in kind of that weird space. There were weird lights up here and it was really distracting. Yep. So where I am right now, I'm in my laundry room, but that works for me.
There you go.
I turned off the video because I'm doing laundry right now. I'm joking. So look, I've got my Tide, I've got my Bounce, but this is the place that has the, you know, nothing distracting you in the back here. And it's also got a window on the side here so that I'm kind of angled. So if I was like this, wanting to get a tan, then you can't see me. But if I put it to a little bit of an angle, then I have the lighting kind of brightening me up a bit so that you can see me. And if I turn it a little more, then you'll see some weird stuff in my laundry room.
We don't need to see that, Michael.
We don't need to see that. So that's why I think space is really important. So I'm glad that you brought that up, Karen. Now, I actually had a quick question about those backgrounds.
Yeah.
So you were talking about some are acceptable. How about just in general? What's your opinion on the backgrounds? Would you use them, let's say, for something like a job interview?
You know what? That's a great question. I'm just like, right now I'm kind of like taking off my career coach hat and putting back my recruiter hat. And I think a virtual background might be distracting, to be honest. Especially if it was something weird. Someone recently posted, it was probably on Instagram or Twitter. They found a Tiger King background and like, that's pretty fun. Everybody's watching Tiger King on Netflix right now, right? So that's funny. And I think actually that would be great for a social meeting. And sometimes we need to find ways also to have fun with our colleagues. And so, you know, maybe if you're having a meeting with colleagues and you're doing something fun like that, great. It might be funny. I feel like it would be, as a former recruiter, I feel like it might be hard for me to concentrate if I keep looking at your background. I don't know. I think it's better to have a real background or just a kind of a neutral background if possible. You can play around with that and try it. You could also probably try it with a career coach. I know that there's lots of coaches at Career Connections. Maybe they could test that out with you, you know, if you really weren't sure and you wanted to try something out. The other thing is it wouldn't be a problem even to say it, right? Like I might, sometimes when there's something a little bit awkward or that you're nervous about, it kind of resolves the tension by just saying it, to say, you know what, I'm in my laundry room, so I'm using a virtual background. Hopefully that's okay, or whatever, you know? Or, you know, maybe if you had to be like in a bathroom because that was the best place for you, for it to be quiet. Maybe you have kids in your house, right? Like, I think it would be possible to do that and say, hey, sorry, I'm in my bathroom. This is the best place for me. I hope I don't get, you know, interrupted, but like, I think just being honest about those things can help you.
Okay, perfect.
I think it looks like Drake found a background. That's Oh, but if he moves around, like you can see how it kind of like comes in and out of reality. Like you could, so it looked pretty good actually. So I don't know. Technology is getting better and better. It might be fine.
Okay,
I would just say if that's something that's like a challenge, don't think, oh my gosh, I have to have a virtual background. You don't. You can probably look around your house and make something work. If I didn't have this screen, I could probably turn towards, whoops, sorry, that was my computer getting unplugged. I could probably turn towards those closet doors and that would be okay, you know? And maybe for the first 5 seconds, someone might wonder what that was, but after we started talking, they probably wouldn't pay attention.
Okay, perfect. So Ed asked how you put up a virtual background. I think if you could just Google those things right away, there's lots of stuff about virtual backgrounds. But Sheila has a question about, do you have any advice for how to stop fidgeting during an online interview?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. So I think the awareness that if you know that you have, that you are fidgeting, that's great that you know that. Maybe if you have a stress ball or something that you can hold in one hand, there might be a way that you can fidget, like, you know, just out of the view of the screen, and you'll be fine. If there's a way that you can kind of maybe focus that energy in one hand that's not on the screen, is there, can you tap your toe on something quietly? I feel like I'm not an expert on how to deal with fidgeting, but awareness is the first step. Obviously, you know what's going on. I would say try to put that energy into something that's not on the screen.
Yeah, no, those are great tips. And that's a good thing about having like online interviews, is that people really just see this part, right? Your face or what's on the screen. So your hands can be away from the screen, right? So doing whatever other things, just as long as it's not distracting you from the interview. Yeah,
be aware of like, even, okay, this is a funny one, but I know sometimes like, here's a pen. Sometimes if I have one of these kinds of pens and I'm in a meeting, I might just like, I might not even realize that I'm clicking it. But I saw this before we started the meeting. I was like, you know what? I'm going to put this pen away and I'm going to use this pen, because I might start clicking that thing without realizing it. So part of it is self-knowledge and just realizing, you know, what you do. I see, I know I'm just like playing with the lid. I'm a little bit of a fidgeter too. I think that's okay. I think everybody fidgets a little bit, so don't worry too much about that.
That's great. We have Cecilia. She's asking, can you explain the icons at the bottom?
Are those like the ones at the bottom of the Zoom screen?
Is that the one, Cecilia? Like the ones that mute, stop video, those ones? You could maybe.
I can walk through those. Yeah, so from the left to right, like you have a mute button. If you'll notice, actually, Ed, I'm gonna answer your question after too. If you go to the mute, there's an arrow right beside your mute button too, and you can actually change your settings. You can select your microphone, you can select a speaker. In fact, Michael and I had to play around with that when we were chatting before we let everybody else in the call, because some of my settings weren't right. So again, here's the power of testing something out, right, to make sure it works. So yeah, the little arrow beside will help you change, and I just went back a slide. That's okay. There's the video, so you can stop video. I'm just going to click it right now. So if I click stop video, now you're not going to see my face. Sometimes, especially in a situation like this, when we have a lot of people, it uses up a lot of bandwidth to see everybody's video at once. So if you find you're having internet problems, you can also stop your video and just listen to the audio if you need to do that. Yeah, so if you click right on those icons, you can start and stop your video. I'm going to start my video again. I can mute if I click that button. I'm not going to. There's the participants button, and so I think it shows who's all there. Sometimes, depending on the settings of the Zoom meeting, you can chat and message other people directly, or you can chat with the whole group. So sometimes those are private. There's a screen share button. I don't know if you guys have that. You may or may not. Sometimes in the settings, the host will allow people to share or not share. So like right now I'm sharing my screen. I can also pause the share. This annotate, I don't know what that does actually. Zoom has been making a lot of updates. So to be honest, I'm not sure what that one is. Oh, I can give mouse and keyboard control to somebody in the remote control. So that's interesting. I could give someone control. And then in the more, we can invite people to the meeting, or there's lots of different things we can do. You have share. Yeah, you have a share button. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, I think the best way to really figure it out is to play around with it. And I did that with my team. Like, we've done a few meetings where we take turns hosting and sharing and just doing different things, because it's new to us too. So it's totally okay. The Zoom accounts are free. You can practice on other systems too and play around with it. Probably practicing it is the best way to learn all of that. If someone else is inviting you to the meeting, you don't really have to know too much about the technology. Usually you just click the link and you can show up. I see a question from Sheila and then from Drake. So we'll get to you in a second, Drake. Sheila, you said, I just have a lot of stuff going on my screen right now. Is it appropriate to wave goodbye at the end of a virtual meeting? If not, what is the widely acceptable way to sign off? I often do, particularly if it's a group meeting. If I've had a meeting with a lot of groups and everybody's ending, we kind of just say bye. And yeah, I think that's fine. I think because it's still newish technology, there's not a lot of rules quite yet. I don't think you have to worry about doing something wrong. You don't have to wave. You could wave. Maybe it would be, I think it feels like we have to, because usually at the end of an interview or a meeting, we might shake hands, and we can't do that now, right? So yeah, I think it's fine. It's friendly. You could also just say, thanks for meeting with me. It was great to chat with you, whatever. Drake, what did you say? I had an interview a couple of weeks ago where I could not change the background. They recommended to have a blank wall in the background, but I did not have a good place to set up. What are some other ways of making the background better? Oh, that's super interesting. Was this was it a virtual one-way interview with ATV? Was it a person-to-person interview, Drake? Oh, it was a video recorded, right? Okay, so you guys may or may not know about this, but a lot of companies, especially larger companies, are doing something that is called one-way recorded interviews. And so that means the initial interview, the first round interview, is not with a person, it is recorded. And so you can answer the questions on your own time. It's a little weird because you're not talking to a person, you're just, a question will come up on your screen and they'll say, I don't know, how do your skills relate to this? And then you have, maybe 30 seconds to prepare, and then they give you 1 minute to record your answer. And I think you guys have someone coming in next week, right? On that, Michael?
Yeah, so next Friday, April the 17th at 1 o'clock, we're going to have people from VidCruiter. Okay. So they actually program all of these video interview programs or software, and then they sell it to all those big companies. So we're going to have somebody from that company talk about what they do and give some tips on how to be successful in your video interviews. So
that's awesome.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, you'll hear right from the source. Yeah, because that's a little bit different. At least here on this call, we can kind of look at people's faces, and we do have a bit more of that human connection. But one-way recorded videos are a really common thing. So you were looking for suggestions of the background. I would say, just maybe walk around your house with your phone, with whatever, see, is there a wall that you can use? Is there a wall that's mostly clear? Can you take off one picture? Especially with a recorded one, I don't think it's as essential. I don't know, it might be easier to have a space that's like, you just need that clear wall, right? Like you have a wall behind you. If you took off, you have two pictures. If you removed those two pictures and moved your chair closer, maybe that would work, Or maybe even a window, like if you had a window where you could, if you did not have light coming through the back, but if you could close the curtains, right? If you could close the curtains, if your curtains are neutral, you could sit in front of the curtains. You would have to have a lamp in front of you so that you'd be lit in the front, but that might be something you could do. Yeah, otherwise I would say in front of a door, in front of closet doors, something like that. You might have to be creative, but I think if you walk around, if you grab your phone, walk around in selfie mode, you know, you might be able to figure out what would work for you.
That's great. Any other questions? I mean, another option is we do have career coaching services that are still open through Career Connection. If you do want to maybe meet with a career coach, talk about some stuff with your career search, maybe about interviews, maybe about resumes, maybe even just who's hiring out there, then you can check out our website at mycareerconnection.ca and book an appointment with one of our career coaches. So, I mean, they could even talk a little bit more maybe about how to use Zoom and even just seeing what kind of setting you're in and maybe suggest some other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there's no more questions, hey, Karen, thank you so much for being here today.
This was fun.
Yeah, that was some great information. So like I said, next week, if you do want some more information about things like video interviews, then next Friday, April the 17th, we're going to have VidCruiter come out, VidCruiter. And they're going to talk about how to ace your video interview, the different kinds of video interviews as well. So Karen, hey, thanks for leading us today one more time. And I'm sure that everyone will be able to improve their online video meeting skills.
Yeah, good luck, everyone.
Actually, last question, Karen. So if people have more questions or would like to connect with you, then what's the best way?
Oh, you can, if you have more questions, you can look for me on Karen Stiles. You can find me on LinkedIn. I have a website. It's flowandfire.com. So if you want to find me there.
Awesome.
On Instagram. But yeah, probably my website or LinkedIn is the best.
Well, we'll have those links on our website as well, so that you can connect with Karen. And if you do connect with her on LinkedIn, then definitely put a note on there saying that you did watch her webinar today with us.
Yeah.
So again, thanks, Karen. My name is Michael Manzano here with Career Connection at Bow Valley College. And everyone, remember to stay safe, stay strong, and we'll get through this together, all right? So have a great day, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.